All right. Aloha and welcome everybody. It's Wednesday night. It's your People First candidate, Shawn Richey, representing Kaneohe and Maunawili. Um, Today is actually the first official day. Things have wrapped up. Got another couple of candidates in the mix, so it looks like there's going to be three Democratic candidates on the ballot and then one Republican candidate on the ballot for this election. But like in most situations, it's against the incumbent. I think anybody who has been part of the last couple of years, I really feel there needs to be some change. Nothing against those people, please. I don't have anything negative to say. I can always say things I would have done differently, but I wasn't in those moments, and I'm not here to judge others. I'm just here to say that I know where my conviction is coming from, why I'm running for office, and why that's so needed right now. And I feel like it's needed across the state for new voices to come in and represent the people. And so I reached out today to my other independent Democrat candidate just to wish them well on their run. Don't really know anything about them, but just wanted to make sure that they knew that I appreciate them running. I appreciate everybody who's stepped up in this moment to answer the call of better representation for people, doing better for people. And as long as you're putting people first, I may not agree with your politics, but that's what legislation and debate is for. And I'm always happy to have those conversations. And I want to elect who is ever going to best represent the people. And that's why we have a vote. That's why we have elections. And so all I can do is my part. All I can do is continue to stay humble, keep pushing ahead, answer as many questions as I can, practice what I preach, be the type of representative that I am looking for and I was looking for. And I said it on a podcast earlier today. I did get to do the Hawaii Boss podcast. It was an awesome opportunity. And I really appreciate David, the host, having me on, having a good talk. And, I'm very cautious, if you will, with some of my commitments. But one of the commitments that I will make is I do want to spend my time in office raising up a new batch of contenders to run against me in next year's ballot. So, if you want to put a vote on change, somebody who's going to be looking out for the people's interests, not their own interest, and someone who is going to come in and do what they can to invest in the community, invest in making things better, and espouse those better practices in legislature, then I'm your guy. Vote Shawn Richey. And but I want to make sure that come next election, I'm raising up a host of people who are going to be grassroots, who are going to run for their communities, try and set up things where we can foster debate as a contingent. Everybody can have their own teams and go and run and run their own races, but I want to build those networks where the people can see the candidates together and hear our voices, and again have these options that they know that are being raised up from the communities, and then be fully educated in what they are, who they're choosing. Far too often it feels as though a lot of these are selected and then you're able to choose the lesser of the evils, if you will. That's not my words, that's other people's words that I've heard time and time again as I've gone through this journey and just listened to a lot of the apathy that people have. And I think that idea of raising up the next generation, investing in young people to step up and represent their communities and be inspired to do better, even if they don't get in this is a great experience. It'll be a great experience for them. And if we make that something that is desired and strive for in society, I think it's only going to be a win. So it is one of the commitments that I make, just to invest in other voices in this community. I want to make sure that I'm, reaching into this deep pool of both knowledge and culture and pride that Kaneohe has. And again, I'm excited to get to know better the Maunawili side and represent them as well and lift up voices in that community, which hopefully I'll be doing soon. I have some connections that I'm going to be fostering out there, and just really go out and spread the voice as much as I can. Find those safe places, connect those safe places, and I'm trying to do it as best I can with what's existing. Social media, I went to school for it. I understand its purpose. I understand what it's there for, and whatnot. But I've always been made a commitment to limit my media. One of my sayings, and I have a lot of sayings, is you got to control your media or your media will control you. And social media always took more than it gave, and so I had to put healthy boundaries on that. And I've had to lift some of those personal restrictions, because that's where people are at. People are on social media, and my entire thing is I want to go meet the people where they're at. So that's one way I can do it, and it's I don't mind putting myself out there. Again, I tell people, that part of my brain is missing, to kind of like, oh, maybe this would make me look bad, or feel shame. And as long as I understand why I'm doing something, I'm doing it for the right reasons, then I just go for it, and I'll put myself out there. Again, I'll have those conversations, and I'm always looking to learn and grow and take from those experiences of others, and make sure that I'm taking with me what is going to help move me forward in my life. And I've done a good job of that, in my opinion, of collecting these skills, collecting a lot of these just experiences that have shaped me into who I am. And I always try to make sure that I'm looking for those things as we're going forward. So I just wanted to do another quick stream tonight, trying to get consistent in it. Tonight's stream is all about why I'm running, and the reasons behind running. And I think it's valid. I think it's important. I have two small children who are 6 and 5 years old. I am a young person who had to buy a house with my parents in order to make it work here. And even those compromises that we make for paradise, we're still getting a squeeze right now. And that squeeze is at the gas pumps, at the grocery stores, in almost every aspect of what's here. Prices are going up, prices are volatile, and if you are living paycheck to paycheck, it's becoming increasingly difficult. People are always going to vote with their feet before they vote at the polls, and Kama'aina and Kanaka alike are leaving this place because of the overregulation, because of just the way that the costs are going up here, and something's got to change. And so most of the time I don't really want to get into politics. I had a great chat today with a older gentleman who was like, why would you do this? Why would you step into this arena, it seems so thankless, and I don't really know what you do, and I don't think a lot of people know what you do, and why would you go in there to what I mean, especially if you're not gonna just toe the line and what I mean, fall in line with what is traditional. Why would you put yourself out there to do it? And it stuck with me. It's such a valid question. It's such a honest thing to ask, and it really, when those things come up, I have to look at myself and say, why are you doing this, right? Why are you putting yourself in this situation? I'm not generally that type. I consider myself a participating observer. I always show up. I always leave things better than I found it. I'll always take care to be respectful and to participate and learn. But as far as putting myself out there in a lot of those ways, just generally not something I was raised doing. I've always been more respectful, more a little bit laid back. I'd rather be behind the scenes and making sure that things are moving the way they're supposed to and be productive than be the face of it. But again, this is about the moment that we're in. This is about the way that global economics, local economics, the drivers of Hawaii, how they are working against local people in a lot of ways. And we can either hope that it changes on its own, or we can step up to be in that arena to have those conversations, and again make sure that we're doing it in a way where we're sharing that knowledge, right? And that's what's huge to me is, I'm a smart guy. I understand a lot of these things, and that's all good and fine. But if it's all in my head and it's just me, that doesn't get us where we want to go. So I do want to inspire and pass along this knowledge and use, my platform and opportunity in office to share that knowledge, to again build up new generations of leaders and make sure that we have a more informed and we're able to speak the same language. And that's honestly a huge portion of it, is just the the sort of jargon, the language of politics in Hawaii is not something that is taught. It's something that you have to learn through experience. It's something that you have to actively seek out. And so if you are just a bystander, then all you're going to see are the news headlines. And, news headlines serve a purpose. They are part of a, money-making organization that is, capitalizing on clicks, capitalizing on, views, and, how many people are reading through the whole thing and how many people are just like, oh yeah, I saw it said this, you know what I mean? And so that's what I'm saying it is. And it's like, do you understand what it's saying though? And that's a huge piece, is just again passing along that knowledge, making sure that I am being a good steward of sharing those things. And then the next one, and again, this is not about pointing fingers. This is not about pointing blame. This is just about making sure that we are being real and addressing situations and making sure that we are improving for the people that we represent. And so, two bills that, made it through this legislative session. And again, there's already controversy with this legislative session with, the executive orders being called off halfway through, and some, language that was used prior to that about, what this session should and shouldn't do. So there was already that. And then you look at, two specifically. One is the cash bail reform, and the second one is this renewable energy thresholds, or further regulations on how each island uses and achieves renewable energy. Again, dictating from a legislative, lawmaking, government perspective, these really kind of intense kind of issues, right? In different ways, both of them. So I just want to touch on both because it highlights again a reason why I'm running and what I'm seeing. And so the first is the cash bail reform. So I do have to say that I do have a friend who had it was actually their father who was affected by cash bail reform, in that they were detained and held and found innocent of what they were charged with initially, couldn't afford bail, and had a traumatic experience. I think anybody who most people I've spoken to who have been in county would agree it is traumatic. And so there's always those cases that need to be looked at where people are being discriminated against for their status as far as wealth. And obviously I'm always going to be an advocate for the people who are marginalized, the people who do not have the means or opportunity and are in that lower class. That's just where my heart is. If we're not taking care of them, then what does that say about us as a society? So I care, and I think it's a worthy conversation. But at the end of the day, there was a few very loud and some of them I follow and I appreciate, and I again, I think that those are valid voices, valid advocacy groups. But you have to think about the timing, and you have to weigh what is being done in legislature against the will of the people. And I will say, knocking door to door, I hear about that bill a lot, and they ask my opinion on it, and I share it like that, right? Is like, I understand the intent, I understand where these groups are coming from, but in the current environment, we can, crime is on our top 5 concerns for Kaneohe. If you haven't downloaded that, please go check out our Stan store. The link is in the banner for our YouTube channel, or the link in bio for our Instagram or anything like that. You can go check out our top 5. But I'll give you a hint: crime is in there. And a lot of that crime is based on, kind of these desperate times right now where costs are going up, and, a lot of people lost their jobs, a lot of people lost opportunities as business closes and all this kind of stuff. And so the last thing we should be doing right now is giving a perceived green light for petty crime in our neighborhoods. And that's what I was hearing. That's what I was sharing. Again, I understand it. You know what I mean? There's a time for it. I just don't think it's now. And again, the way that it was written was overbroad and could be, gave that perception of a green light. And even speaking with some HPD officers, there was concerns in how that would tie their hands as well. And so it got passed because, again, it's hard to take time out of your day to go into the legislature during session with so much going on. You know what I mean? It's just, if they're not making the effort to go to the people, then, it's hard for people to make the effort themselves to go and do that, especially right now. And so it got passed, and then after it got passed, then everybody was freaking out, because that, for a lot of people, that was the first time they heard about it. And they said, no, we don't want this. We don't want this. And so, there are certain legislators. I heard the mayor had a press conference today about it, and, a lot of people looking at vetoing that bill now. And again, I say that to highlight that when I say people first, it's, again, we have to make sure that we as representatives, as legislators, are, staying in contact, keeping the voice of the people we are elected to represent close to our hearts in our rhetoric as we go and hear from these advocacy groups and these people and make sure that we are, again, always balancing the will of the people against the politics and the influence and the machine that is legislature, which, isn't going to change anytime soon. But what is in our control is how we represent people and how we take that voice. And so, great example for me, plays into my campaign, because that's absolutely what I want to do. That's why I'm running. I've heard too many people over the last couple of years just say, I feel like my voice doesn't matter. I've been in situations where it feels like my voice doesn't matter, and I'm running because those voices do matter. And I'm not going to always be able to tell them what they want to hear, but I will have those conversations, those tough conversations. I will be as transparent as I can, but regardless, act in integrity to put people first, uphold my commitments to them, and be sure that I am taking their will with me as I go and argue and push for bills and vote on bills for everybody in Hawaii. So that's the first one, and it's pretty huge. And then the second one is this solar regulation. I think, the cost of regulation, I was hearing on some show, it was like 20% of housing and development is just strictly red tape. 20% off the top. And you look and regulation helps in certain ways, right, to balance markets. Again, it's meant to ensure that people aren't getting unfair advantages and that people are on a level playing field. But what happens is, as you just keep fighting up and up and up, you raise those regulations, you raise those things so that it's out of reach for a lot of people. And that's not what we're looking for. That's not what we want. And, I'm trying to do my best and my part to, stand up and make sure that we're having the conversation of, why are we, how is this benefiting people first, right? How is this benefiting local people first? And so the second one is the renewable energy bill. Now, me and my wife drive hybrid cars. We've had electric cars in the past. We have solar on our house. I think that a lot of people who can afford these things, like these things, will choose to do these things. I think that it's well marketed, and people who care will help, and those who don't, I believe, deserve the right to live that way, and to think that that minority is going to ruin everything, I think, is a tough conversation to have with people. I think it feels good to push in that direction. I will advocate for better recycling, making sure that we have full cycle recycling plans. I would love to see us do better in our composting. I always joke around, when me and my wife first moved back from Portland, Portland had such a robust recycling. Every store, every place we go, there had the 3 bins. And here it's like you get 1 trash bin, right? And that's what all the homeless people go through. In Portland, there's 3. And so for the longest time when I moved back, I was just walking around with multiple water bottles and just where do I put these? What do I do? And eventually you just okay, I guess I just got to throw it in this one big bin. And let's look at addressing that kind of stuff. Let's look at those minimums. And again, let's look at the timing, as things are so expensive right now, and just increasing. And, this bill is looking to increase costs even more. And there's, other factors of, burning trees and cutting trees to go in and, growing trees just to cut them down to feed this. I hope that's not the case. I hope that that's, there's byproducts of things that they're actually making that are being burned, and that's just rhetoric. But if they are truly just growing whole trees to burn whole trees, that's pretty bad. The biofuel industry used to make sense when we had the sugarcane. They could extract the usefulness, and then the byproduct would be used for fuel. That was awesome. If we want to move in a direction of a new cash crop, which I think would be great, especially after kind of some of the holes of putting everything in a tourism basket. I always advocate for hemp, and if we got back to that, it would do good for the soil. Has a lot of uses, and the byproducts could be used for biofuel. So if we're gonna legislate like that, you have to take it the whole way. You can't just be growing trees to burn trees. That just seems weird. And I agree that that's a weird concept, just if that's solely it. But at the end of the day, the big thing is legislating how people are living their lives, increasing costs, raising that bar right now for people when people are hurting. You know what I mean? And I don't see any big incentive programs to get people in electric cars or hybrid cars. It's just the prices are going up, and they're saying, yeah, well, if you want to stop that bleeding, I guess you got to go jump over to this other expensive thing. And that's not really helpful for people either. So those are tough ones. But again, it goes back to, are you listening to people? Are you what I mean? I understand the solar industry is upset because it's cutting into their bottom line, and cry me a river. But do people want to fit the bill for this cost, in this overarching manner at this junction in time, at this legislative session, with everything that was going on? Is this really the top priority? This is something that we want to go through? And again, it's another one where now, after the fact, because there wasn't that much notoriety or publicity during during the legislative session, and it was just the lobbyists and the advocacy groups and the people who are coming in with the bias, these things got passed, and now the people are outraged, and now they're going and asking the governor to veto it. And it's a sad state of affairs. And it takes me full circle back to where we started on this stream is a lot of people in legislature have been exposed. And again, I stay with the people, and if the people have confidence in them and they get back in, of course I'll work with them. I work well with people. I'm good at politics. But as it's election season, as I'm going up against an incumbent who I feel missed the mark in certain areas, again, not placing blame, just again, I'm stepping up to this moment because I feel as though I am the person who will meet all of those moments instead of shying away because of politics or because of whatever. If it's the people or politics, I'm gonna choose people. That's the people first. I'm gonna put that over. That's what I'm running for. That's who I'm running for. And again, when I say that, I'm most speaking to the Kama'aina, the people who were born here, who have their roots here, and the Kanaka, who have the Koko, the indigenous blood, the bloodlines, and the culture that is most deeply rooted here. So that's my heart. That's what I'll advocate for. I'm pro-government, assisting people and being aligned with people. I'm pro-small business. I'm pro-community. And that's, I joke a lot. Hawaii is full of these contradictions, if you will, of, people being, looking at, having conflicting areas of their life. And I think I'm not immune from that, and there's a lot of these complexities and these diversities, and when you have this melting pot and everybody is kind of taking their own thing and bringing it in and creating something new, You cannot force that into a one size fits all policy. You're gonna lose the beauty. You're gonna lose the uniqueness. And if that's the overwhelming demand and desire of the people, and you can prove that and you can demonstrate that, not just with some biased poll that you send out, you know what I mean, that the people that you champion are gonna respond to, but you actually have these public forums and these big open debates, and it's overwhelming. That's where you can just say, okay, the people have spoken. But largely, we need to go and foster those conversations and educate those conversations, and not just allow for them to be based out of fear or misunderstanding. And again, until we get back to those educational roots to educate and lift up people, I think we're gonna be doing this dance for a while. So I'm stepping up because we need to put people first. We gotta be front lines. We gotta be there, building up that infrastructure so that it's easier for people to connect with. We gotta raise up the next generation of people to step up and be inspired to represent their communities. We have to make sure that we are taking the will of the people and balancing that against what's in legislature, and really being good stewards of the people and the place that we get to represent. And again, I'm just so blessed to be in this place and have these people, the people of Kaneohe Maunawili, to represent. It's one of the greatest honors, and I'm not afraid of stepping up to this moment. And if you have if there's something you think I should be doing, if there's an opportunity, please, get connected, reach out. Would love to be a part of it. Would love to connect with you and figure out what we can do to break through that barrier. But until then, it's gonna be, every day getting out there. We need people. We need resources. Sure, absolutely. But more than anything, share the voice, share the message. Ask me the questions, challenge me, hold me accountable. And, I'm trying my best to have fun and to make sure that this is something that I can grow from and take with me for the rest of my life. But it's been so rewarding so far, and I'm excited to see what happens between now and August 13th. Please, if you watch this, share this, get people involved. And again, I truly believe that the idea we need right now is that we can do better. And how do we do that? We do it by putting people first. And so the start for that is electing people who are going to make that commitment and put people first. And that's why I run as a people first candidate. I don't want you to have to guess. I'm not going to take any endorsements. I'm not going to seek any endorsements from those areas. If it's an endorsement, it's because it's something that I think is going to help the people. But there's some traditional, I'll say, endorsements that people in my party seek out, and I have no intention nor desire to seek those out. Of course, I will work with them. Of course, they are an important part of this ecosystem, but I'm not looking to get my merits that way or to feel like I owe a favor that way. I want to have honest conversations. I want to take it to the people level, even in those organizations. So, but again, I can only be me. I'm authentic. This is 100% Shawn Richey. As I go through and I have these things, it's funny where like, wow, yeah, I could totally see you doing this, and it's like, wow, that's funny because I really couldn't even even a year ago I couldn't even imagine this, but I knew I had the ability, and it was just the opportunity and the motive, and then that kind of worked itself out, and here I am, and so excited. So rambling now, so I'm gonna cut this off. This is the end of the stream. Appreciate anybody who watches this. Again, please share, like, subscribe, join in. Appreciate you. Take care.